Thank you, ladies, for arranging passage across the swamp with Jasper.
Don't mention it. Right then, Jasper. You understand what you're doing then?
Yarp.
Take these two monster hunters at 2-star.
Yarp.
Head straight back here though, mind.
Yeah, no lollygagging. Let's get Dempsey.
Yarp.
Best to not get caught out in the dark on those wetlands.
Indeed, Mavis. All sorts come out when the sun goes down out here.
Yarp.
Remember that young naturist from Wintermark that got lost that one night?
Wasn't he a naturalist?
What's the difference?
Well, one draws pictures of folks' wildlife in the light.
And the other?
Well, the other likes to run around with their...
Ladies, thank you. We are indebted to you, but we really must be going. The sun is almost gone and the fog is coming in.
Always in a rush, this one.
Big city folk.
Indeed, Beryl. Right, we'll shove you off.
Now keep your arms and legs inside the boat if I were you.
You might be missing a few fingers and toes if you don't.
Hello and welcome to the LARP Noobs. It's really good to be doing this and talking to all of you guys again.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually been doing some cool stuff, actual things. So
The hype levels like between like E4 right and now,
yeah,
and like you've just been to LARPcon, you've had a player event at Empire Day,
yeah,
and then we're heading into a player event that's coming up, and the hype levels that have built, and just the froth and the enthusiasm is just it's been ridiculous.
Well,
like,
well, I actually got to go LARPing
yes,
at a player event. Should we just start with that? Should we just start with Empire Day?
I think so.
So basically, you have your main events at Empire, which are 4 events.
Yes,
E1 to 4 through the seasons.
Yeah.
But they're also during downtime and not during downtime, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
Player events. Now these are player led, and they are, but given the kind of blessing of PD, so
Yeah.
they have like the same rules and a bunch of other stuff.
so it's like sanctioned events and
Sanctioned
sanctioned events. They kind of have different
Yeah.
scopes and different things, and they're for different kind of groups and group sizes and stuff like
Yeah, and they have very different vibes, right?
Yeah,
so they might
exactly.
focus on like a certain aspect. So some are very combat heavy, some are very like music based, right?
Yeah.
There was a Navari one that was. In fact, I should talk about this,
Yeah.
right? So basically, I heard about Empire Day. Mark Humes actually made a video on this.
Yes,
I
he
think
did,
last
yeah,
year.
yeah.
So, like, I was that's how I knew about it anyway.
Mm.
So then I was like, and then basically Tom, our friend, was talking about going, and I was like, I was kind of umming and ahhing about it and looking at the
Yeah.
logistics involved, and I was like, actually, I could probably go, but quite late to the part. I was
Yeah.
really late to signing on. It's run by a guy called Paul Wilder, who does Violet Illuminations.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right, so they're like a little group that that organise events.
Yeah.
And this is one of theirs. So January 11th was the date.
Yeah.
And I was like, so basically Empire Day is, so an emperor or empress did something on a certain day, and then maybe the day the empire was formed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's what it is.
Whatever it is. Whatever the fuck it is, right?
Yeah.
So they have Empire Day, where you all get together and you sing. They had a song, the national anthem.
Yeah.
Sent that out, so we had to learn that. Well, I didn't have to learn it. They actually gave us the bits of paper, so we could actually read it.
Sure,
But
sure. Yeah.
I gave a crack at trying to learn it, and I couldn't tell you anything about it now.
Yeah.
Like, not a thing. Lots of like, yay for the Empire type stuff. You
Yeah.
know, like
It's cool though. It's well written and stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really like
no, I'm
yeah.
not. No, it's just no.
No, I
don't
no,
know.
I completely know what you mean though. Like,
Yeah.
I can't remember it off. Like I couldn't sing. I get the vibe of it.
If
right?
you said it to me once, I'd probably remember the whole thing again. Though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was one thing for the prep, and like, oh yeah, so Empire Day is just going to be like everyone meets up, and it's like a meal,
Yeah.
and there are competitions, right?
Yeah.
And me being me, hadn't seen much about the competitions until like 3 or 4 days before the event.
Right.
Right, I saw
Yeah.
that there was a competition, and there was so the different competitions there were. There was a satire competition, right, with the theme they can do no longer than 3 minutes.
Right.
Satire on Synod.
Right. Okay.
Right?
So it's quite a specific brief.
Yeah, so they had like themes for each of
Yeah.
these, right? They had art, which was going to be the theme was so it's any piece of art you like with the theme of the empty throne.
Nice.
So the Empress
Yeah.
obviously vanished.
Yeah.
Like last, was it
E3? E3 last year, yeah.
Yeah, so we still don't have a throne, so that was kind of one of the things that they were going to talk about. There was also a pen and paper one that was going to be on the night.
Right.
So there was a whole bunch of pens and paper, and the theme on that one was perfection. Right?
Okay.
Right, yeah, it's cool, right? It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
And a storytelling competition.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, Dave, put your, no more sippy cup for me. I'm gonna go and do a storytelling competition. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want a big boy cup. I'm gonna go and get myself a prize by winning that competition, right?
I think that's been a really interesting thing with, like, if you think when we started LARPing and the fact that, like, combat was definitely a big draw of our experience, and especially our experience walking out of the first event, like the actual battles and the going on the skirmishes and things was a big kind of draw of the whole thing. It was like one of the most...
Yeah, paying in-character coin for beer
Yeah.
and going on fights.
Was like a really
Heaven.
good time. But it's interesting how it's changed over time, and you've got, we've got way more into the game and the deep and the world, right?
Empire Day is it's a non-combat event, right? Well, it's not. I think you can,
Yeah.
but basically it's a
It's-
non-combat
yeah,
event,
yeah.
right?
It's a social event.
So there's not like a whole bunch of Jotun are going to bust in the door
Yeah.
and we're going to have to fight our way out. Of
That
there
would be
or whatever.
amazing, though.
It would be hilarious. A lot of people would die. I think. I don't see any weapons there. Like maybe one or two.
Yeah.
Very, very weapon light.
That would be cool, though.
Yeah.
That
So
would be-
yeah. So okay. So storytelling. I was
Yeah.
like, I've got. It was on the Wednesday. I found out about it, and the event was on the Saturday. So I was like, right,
yeah.
time to come up with a story.
Mm.
And I want to do. There's some plans maybe to do an episode on storytelling and LARP, but I'm just going to kind of go through how my process was. So obviously, if anyone's been to LARP, you'll see people telling stories, and they're usually, well, they are always on brief,
Yeah.
right? A lot of them relate to historical events or people that they know and things like that, right? I don't have a huge amount to draw from on that. Oh, I should say the theme of the story was foreigners, but not barbarians.
Okay.
Okay, so these are nations that are not part of the empire, that aren't barbarians, so they aren't just,
For example, Jam, who were the nation that you were trying to be ambassador to
exactly
last time, right?
So I was like, well, this is it, right? So one of the things I was like, well, I've just been off to Jam,
Yeah.
right? And I'm gonna incorporate that into my story so I can tell it from the first person point of view, like I'm telling a story.
Yeah.
And then basically what I did was I started looking at the idea of like mythology and religion and a bunch of other stuff, and I wanted to do something to do with the way.
Right. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
7 virtues.
I think it's the one of the great things about the way, and I think it's a great device for players because it just gives you something to latch onto.
Yeah.
Like as a new player coming in, you've got the way, which is something that you can immediately steer your character to, and it's a kind of, because of its universality across everybody, it unites everyone, and it gives you talking points at all different times. But you can also pick a specific virtue and just key into that. And make that, like, it's such an easy way of getting character.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? 'Cause you
The different virtues, and also this is a nice brain exercise for me doing it, because I was like, how do I need to learn all the virtues. If I'm going to tell a story, like a moral tale, and it's going to be about all these virtues, how do they work?
Yeah.
Right? So I literally had to go through, I went through all the different ones, how they work, like generally themes about them, how they could interact.
Because the thing with the virtues as well, there's the obvious meanings, but there's also these kind of deeper understandings, which you'll see when you read on the wiki. For example, like wisdom is
the way.
Yeah.
We can talk about this at some point. And go. I would like to go. I could go into a lot of detail at this stage.
Maybe we should do like an episode with like get someone who knows a lot about the religious game.
No, because all it will do is end up into this deep philosophical basis of an argument, right? Because you don't need to be right, right? You don't need to be right to win an argument.
And I think that's the genius of how they designed the way. Right? They made the way. It's all about player agency, and it's all about basically the ability that if I RP my balls off, I can actually justify pretty much anything using
good
the
argument.
way.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Like, and it can be kosher with the way if I kind of just role play my balls off and really go for it. I can win an argument.
But there are circular arguments. There are loads of different tactics you can use. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Like like we're talking about. Let's use a real world example of this. Yeah. Let's say I I can't even say my own, Gellert Ashbourne, can't even say my own name. I sympathise with the slaves in Yarm.
Right.
Okay? And in order to help them,
Yeah.
because they can't live very virtuous lives being slaves, I'm going to cast a spell that will make all of them not belligerent and non-conforming, right?
Right.
What happens? Hundreds of thousands of them are put to the sword by very unhappy guards that deal with slaves ruthlessly by stabbing them all, okay? They're all dead. Now, did Gellert Ashbourne succeed or did he fail? Right?
Yeah.
Now, one could say, well, everyone died. It was a terrible tragedy. Clearly, this wasn't what he intended. This is awful. On the other hand, I firmly believe in the way, and all those souls have now been released. Can get on the labyrinth that much faster, and now hopefully come back and live a much more virtuous life. Yeah. So I am incredibly just in my action. And that's just one example of how the way can be used to
justify every side.
I mean, it's a rabbit hole when you start going down it, man.
I think it's a really cleverly designed piece of the game that's so accessible, and it's just so well written to the lore, and the way it's almost become mechanics. Yeah, like it isn't in the terms of people can break with it all the time, but that is in itself a great kind of story point. The idea that you want to be heretical is, of course, something that's going to appeal to everybody.
Or you end up being heretical by accident.
Yeah.
Like you have a point of view, or there's a lot of OC stuff that you kind of bring to the table in communication. Yeah. What's a good one? Fate. Fate's a good example. That is a fairly...
Oh, you mean something you can say by mistake? You
can talk about it's fate that's
by mistake. Yeah.
That's heresy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're believing in fate and all that stuff. Luck.
Yeah.
These sort of things are not the way, from what I understand. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
No. There's even the whole thing of if you just react with oh my god or something like that, some kind of mild blaspheming or whatever. Yeah. That isn't in the world, obviously, of Empire.
No, there are no
so
gods.
That's a heretical statement. So obviously it's it's just you bodged up and you kind of.
Well, let me put it this way. This is the rabbit hole I went down on talking about this stuff. So anyway. So I came up with the idea of it's going to be Jarm related. It's going to have the way in it, and then basically all I did was start looking at old. I went the story I came up with is an extremely pulled and abstracted version of Jesus talking to the rich man, and the rich man saying, "Can I get into heaven?" And then Jesus says, "There's more chance that you can thread a hair through that you could get through the eye of a needle or whatever." I'm babbling, but so that was the kind of sentiment for it, which basically turned into a moral tale about my visit to Jarm. And basically, I managed to cobble this together with bubblegum and duct tape, right, as a story. And I'd never really, I kind of basically wrote it out and then basically read it out in my head. And then I think I did it embarrassingly in the living room to an empty room, reading it out and basically getting a feel for what it sounded like coming out of my mouth. And then basically, because I didn't want to carry the whole thing on me, all I did was I managed to root it down to writing a couple of what city it was, a couple of details, names, and then I also put down each of the virtue with one word next to them and what they related to in the story, and that's all I did, and that's how I went to it.
I've been working on because we're going to a player event later on actually, and I've been working on a song for that, and it's kind of going through that process of just writing it and then practicing it, because it's not naturally part of my skill set at all. Yeah. The whole singing it to an empty room kind of thing, and I've done a recording of me singing it. Yeah. Just so I can actually hear myself sing it. I think for my own confidence.
I think
you know what I'm saying?
Getting into music is crazy. Yeah. It's nuts. We've known each other our entire lives, and I've never known you. Yeah. Ever. Yeah. To even you've never talked about it. It's never come up, right?
Yeah. No, it's weird. I think I've always been this kind of storytelling sort of song. I think has always appealed to me more.
I want to. I've been in this thing where I want to express myself. Yeah. And I've been watching things like singer-songwriters and things like that, and trying to get ideas for stuff. But man, like, I get what you mean. I think it's so brave that you're managing to actually go out there and actually.
Well, I
really
haven't
give
actually
it a
done it
go.
yet, but it's
Hey,
something
I've
I'm looking
heard
forward
it.
to.
I think you're going to do well. Didn't you sing in a episode of the podcast or something?
The end of the last one, sing is probably very generous. I kind of did like one verse.
Yeah,
or a
that
song.
was that whole episode. Jesus Christ, Ian. Fucking hell. Yeah,
That was great fun to do.
We're talking about the what's the title of it? The history.
To Forge an Empire, which is the history sort of series that
Yeah.
I'm sort of working on.
Holy shit, that was all Ian, by the way. So it's like I'm as stunned as anyone else that listens to it. It's basically a history of it, and Ian sings at the end. And man, like Jesus. Anyway, let's move on. Jesus, right? So okay, so I got to I went with Tom and John.
Yeah,
and we basically rocked up there. Okay, straight off the bat, it was a little bit empty.
yeah.
Right, it's this place called the Mead Hall, and it's like this big, like in theme.
I saw some pictures.
pub.
It looked pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, it's cool. It had a log fire.
They have
which
like
was
flags
needed.
up and stuff. And
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it
it
looked
was
pretty
it was
legit, dude.
It was cool. Like it was
Yeah.
a really nice setting. Just not enough people. Basically,
Yeah.
is what I say. Basically, what happened was I think there was a Navari event, like a songs and stories thing, on the same night.
there was definitely an event on the
and
same
that,
night.
that drew some people
Yeah.
away. But I had a great time, right? So just that's
Yeah.
it for my
Yeah,
only thing. I think they said it at the time. So basically, got there. I was really nervous because I had to do this story, right?
Yeah.
So I was like kind of bricking it, and the way they kind of I asked, and then basically what they're saying is that you need to do the story just to people, right? So
Right.
there's not going to be like everyone shut the fuck up, look this way.
Yeah.
Here is the story competition. It was like go to the tables and
Yeah.
do it. So I was just like,
So I had to do it multiple times, right?
yeah. So I was like, I can't be asked to do this like more than once or twice, right? At most, right? Like
Yeah.
it's this long story. I don't want to do it like multiple times because you know what I mean, like whatever, right? So, right at the start of the evening, everyone's gathered around the fire and we're talking, and I was just like, fuck it, do it right now. I just
Right.
kind of impulsively pushed go on it and just said the words kind of left my mouth. Who wants to hear a story?
Yeah.
And it was like, when you're kind of like watching yourself and you're going, oh yeah, these words are definitely coming out my mouth right now.
Yeah.
That's going to be, we're on.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. You do get some weird kind of like semi out of body experiences when you're doing LARP sometimes. Like,
Well, it was more
there's
like...
the kind of the part of your mind which is like watching you do the process of role playing.
Well, I think there's always that, like for me anyway, like I really have to kick myself in the behind to kind of be brave. You know what I mean? Sometimes. So it's more like
it's a lot of effort sometimes.
But I think everyone has those same feelings, right? It's just like
I think the game makes itself so compelling of just the depth of the social interactions that you will initiate your own kind of
pushing
move to engage
boundaries.
with it. Yeah.
It's pushing boundaries because let me put it this way: like the idea of telling a story now after doing all of this, I feel a lot better about going out and telling a story. The first time you do anything is going to be a rush, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I literally just went, "Who wants to hear a story?" The reaction was very positive immediately. So I'm like, right, let's fucking do this, and I did my little story.
Yeah.
Didn't have a tambourine.
Oh, you were good because you want to take your tambourine,
Yeah.
but you decided against using it.
I thought it's. I think it was just like I didn't want to carry it
I guess in
around
the
with me, to be
setting as
honest.
well.
I didn't want to carry it
especially
with
if you're
me.
going to be going to multiple tables. You
I
wanna
should
kind of-
have bought one to be fair because or did I bring it? I don't think I did.
I think you were going to take it.
I might have taken it with me but not used it during the story.
Yeah.
That might have been what it was. But yeah, I want to work on the story with the tambourine.
Yeah.
Tambourine and story will be
Yeah.
a very powerful thing. Anyway, did the story. There were more people listening to it at the end than there was when I started it, which is a good sign for a story, I think, because
Yeah.
at least people are coming over and like taking an interest. you know?
Yeah, for sure.
People seem to be nice about it. I felt pretty good about it. I was like, done. There was a couple of bits,
Yeah.
obviously, when I realised saying in front of a crowd were like, that doesn't work, that needs to change, and a few other bits.
Yeah.
So, so I basically sat back down and was like, fuck it. That's done. Let's see who else tells the story and get an idea of how many people are out there and want to vote. Oh yeah, and people. Okay, so everyone gets given a token,
Right.
right? So you're supposed, and there were like 4 different tokens for the different prizes, and you have to give your token to the person that you think is going to win. Everyone was like, "Take my token." And I was like, no. You have to wait until everyone's told their story or whatever, because you can't just give it to me because I won't give it back to you. You know, so everyone like kept on to their tokens.
That's cool.
Yeah, right.
It's a nice piece of RP as well, right? To have that kind of interaction. It's like
it just makes more sense, right? Especially from Geralt's point of view.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's something I wanted to really ask you about. Was like this whole process of going to this social event. Like, I feel like it's actually like helped you find Gellert a lot more. Like the process of actually doing
it's
the
just
song.
not doing enough events. Like that's all it is. Like
because you've only been this character three events, two or three.
Yeah.
So it's
When
like
did I die? Spring?
Yeah, I think
it was spring.
Yeah.
So that's 2 events.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone knows it was winter or whatever and going, those fucking dickheads.
It's been over a year. Get over it already.
We all know if Anne died, fucking Jesus, shut up about it. Where was I? Right, so then they did the satire, which was we did a whole bunch of singing. There was a lot of singing going on around the camp, around the fire, which was really cool with some really cool people. Met lots of different nice people. Nice man from Varushka. It was just like a nice opportunity to, because I haven't really interacted with that many different nations. Right,
and
not for a long periods of time.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. There was loads of people. I think so many people there didn't know each other. Yeah. Like there were some runners there. So obviously I go running, but our relationship consists of showing up half an hour early for the battles. All right. Yeah. See you on the field. That's pretty much it, right? So it's good to just kind of hang out and get a vibe for what everyone else is up to. Right, so the pen and paper, the perfection one, everyone went around, drew these pictures, and they had to go and basically pimp them out to people, and pretty much most people there did some sort of drawing on the piece of paper. That's cool. So I didn't. I don't know why I didn't actually, but anyway, there was like a circle. There was a picture that someone drew of a nice cup of tea looking out over the morning or something like that, and that was a really good one. I might have given my token to that person, I'm not sure. It was a very compelling image. There was a bunch of different ones. But yeah, trying to draw perfection, really good time. The art one, holy crap, there are some...
Was that some people who brought their stuff there?
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
I mean... Yeah, there are some really talented people that go to Empire, basically. Yes. This is all I will say on the matter, basically.
So, when I made the book and had the case for it, and I entered it into that sort of Navari competition that we had, and there was this painting that won that is just, like, really, really good, right? Like, really good. So I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I did I'm really proud of what I did with those books, but I can some people are just so talented.
I would say comparison is the
no, but what I mean is it's just that the number of extremely talented people. You just have to look at people's costumes, right? Yes. They're absolutely gorgeous.
Well, maybe I think LARP possibly, dare I say a bold statement, it attracts more creative people. Right? Like, there's a lot of people out there. And it also inspires creativity.
I think that's the thing. I think that's the real thing. Like, it's definitely sort of lit a spark to do things, right? And to make things, which is something
actually... telling a story, like literally telling the story, right?
Yeah, and it's like the events come around with a frequency enough that I have time to make stuff, you know what I mean? And I get time to process it. So in a way, almost because they are quite spread out over this kind of period. Like the Long Dark is kind of like you're desperate to get back in, but at the same time, it's nice to have a period of time to sort of think about it and stew on it and make kit and inhabit the space of your character.
I feel like I completely agree. Also, like these player events are a really nice little confined place where you get to really figure out, like in space.
They're a little sprinkle of pepper along that Long Dark wait. Right.
Friday night at Empire, you've got everything. I've got so much to do.
Yeah.
Right? And then Saturday, like during the day, you've always got something to do that takes longer than you think it does, and you're more tired than you think you are, and then in the evening there's other stuff going. There's always something going. Then Sunday, you're kind of beat out and you kind of want to do a last couple of things. You're always doing something.
Yeah.
At this event, it was more like, I'm just hanging out and I'm taking part and talking and singing and learning songs.
It's non-combat, so you don't have to worry. Like, there's no kind of external threat, basically.
It was nice. Like, let me put it this way: like Tom learned the kazoo while we were there. That's cool. It was.
That's cool.
He took one look at the kazoo and looked at it in disgust. He did. Yeah. Then a moment later, he's there blowing into it, and he's grudgingly singing out a belter of a fucking tune on a kazoo, right, with the rest of the band. Then We just saw him at LARPcon recently. He's bought his own bloody kazoo. So talking about like opening your eyes to new possibilities.
It's great.
There he is. Right. Where are we at? Boom, 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 boom. Right, yeah. So it came around to we ate, and then that was really good. Had some nice food, a few drinks. Oh, it sucks paying real money for drinks.
Yeah.
It shows how often I go out nowadays, but man, that sucked. Like that was like, could I get give me something very strong, please? That's whatever. Anyway, get to the end of the night. Loads of talented people. Satire competition was a couple. They're actually, I think they were dating each other.
Right.
And they were both brilliant. They were both really, really good. And it felt a shame that we even had to have a winner for that because they were both, I don't know.
Really,
anyway.
really good.
Yeah. Basically, no one else told a story.
So were you kind of waiting all night for somebody else to tell a story?
At first, I was like, oh, I wonder who's going to tell a story. And I was going around, I was kind of asking people, hey, is anyone telling a story type thing? And at first, I was like nervous about it because I was like, I still thought like, I liked my story, don't get me wrong, but I just thought that I'm not going to win it, right? There's going to be some really good stuff out there, right?
Yeah.
No one else told a story, so I was like, it started to get to the point where I was literally like, I just wanted someone, to tell a fucking story. It doesn't matter. You went down the shops and you got attacked by some Druge and you killed the Druge and then came home again. Yeah, whatever. Just so, but no. So I ended up having to. So it got to the point where I'm like. They're like, oh, you're going to win by default, right? The two sweetest words in the English language. And then they're like, Paul Wilder, the guy who's running it, turns around and goes, yeah, but lots of people didn't hear it, so if you want to win it, then you have to tell it again. So my guard is completely dropped. I'm done, right? I've told my fucking story. I told like 8 people, 10 people. That's enough to win. No one else has told a story. I've come in just... easy shot, landed it, bam, I'm off to the showers, lads. Do you know what I mean? Like, but actually, I had to retell the story. And I'd had, like, a few drinks at this stage, right? Yeah. It caught me by complete surprise. Like, Tom says he liked the second one better because he heard both. And I think there was a little bit of improvement. But, man, it's everyone. Yeah. Everyone stopped what they were doing and just watched me bumble my way through this goddamn story. But
That's cool though, right? What an awesome thing. If you think about it, like,
do you know what? I'm really happy I did it. Yeah. I'm really happy I did it. Like it was a really good feeling to, even if it was 4 days, put lots of effort into it because I did put a lot of effort into it. And I really wrapped my brain on it.
Dude, it's the stress of doing it, right? It's the nerves of doing it. But it's also the fact that like LARP is such an awesome thing that it gives that whole situation. The idea that you can be comfortably persuaded to perform something you've worked hard on.
There's something that, if we're going to talk about confidence, right? Yeah. Which I've realised I do this in reality, but in LARP, I can use my character. Yeah. Right.
And it can help, right?
And so you put this veneer up in front of your face, basically, of your character, and go, okay, and I'm behind my veneer going, but the veneer is a smiling face who's trying to fucking be charismatic, you know what I mean?
I think what it does is, like, those things that you're comfortable doing, it turns it from running uphill to sort of just running on the flat. It kind of gives it, so you still have to put the effort in, right? But you have to,
like when you're doing,
it's helping you.
Like I've spoken to lots of people, I've done lots of camera work myself, but cameramen, an awful lot of them will say, it's easy to film stuff because it's a way to be away from your subject. Yeah. Whatever you're actually looking at, you're not even looking at it. You're looking at your, It's a similar sort of vibe with having a barrier between the two. I think people do this anyway. Like I really think like in the real world, people tell themselves fairy tales about who they are just to get them to get through the door. And it's kind of interesting that I've kind of looked at that and been like, wow, that's really interesting.
Life is its own first-person experience, right? Yes. And that experience comes with a narrator to a certain extent, who is you and who are you and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And it's just interesting to kind of have... I know, that's one thing, but hey, bit deep, but that definitely made me think about that. So I did my story. Everyone gives me their tokens. It was a kind of a rocky moment. It was kind of fun. I know no one else entered, all right? I know, but
it's cool.
Let me just enjoy it, guys. Do you know what I mean? Everyone, just let me have my moment. It meant a lot to me. Winning a competition with no other fucking entrances in. Like,
but the fact that I think the fact that can happen, and it can happen in a way like
Do you know
Because if
what?
that happens
It felt like winning, and it doesn't matter because everyone was really happy. They gave me all their tokens.
Exactly.
I handed it in.
Right? You did earn it, right? You did actually earn it.
Yeah, I showed up. It was
The
good.
person, the fact that you went through the process of doing it meant you earned it, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's legit.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and also I'm looking forward to. I've done a little tweak here, a little tweak there. Nothing. I think the structure's really good, and I really like the general whole theme of it. It needs something at the end. The end was a little bit flat. So a couple of bits, but I'm looking forward to doing it at Songs and Stories.
Yeah, you're going to do it.
If I don't do it at Songs and Stories, I have chickened out or I'm dead. They're the two things that happened, right? Because I'm right now in the
in
the
this
warm light of day,
situation
I'm
when you're
gonna do it.
talking about E1 when we get there.
Yeah.
In this moment, would you say you'd rather be dead or have chickened out?
I am. No, I feel like what's nice is I feel like obviously like doing the episode with Gabby.
Yeah.
And and obviously knowing Sam and a few other people, I just
but
feel
also
like
having already died, it gives you that perspective, I guess, of
I don't want to die again.
Yeah, but
no,
you don't want to chicken out as well.
I'm not chickening out.
Well, that's what I mean. That's
right now,
that.
but that's me right now,
Yeah.
right? Look at me, I'm fierce. I'm so brave right now. If you see me 9 o'clock on Friday, and I'm
about to perform, yeah,
I'll be eyes on the floor, just freaking out.
I reckon you'll do it.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. I think I can't wait to hear it. Bear in mind, I've not actually heard it.
No, you haven't. And
yeah,
I hope I haven't given too much away. I don't think I did, but right. I won a really cool. Right, hold on. Open it up. Look at that.
That's beautiful. So it's like a beautiful picture of a hare or a rabbit. I think a hare. Standing
It might
on
be a rabbit.
Standing on I guess that's like a sort of mystic background.
It's like a sky, like blue, or something like that,
but
right?
like a mystic sky.
Yeah, yeah.
And then with a really bright sun behind their head.
the-
It looks really awesome.
And it's covered in loads of little. There, it's a rune.
Yeah.
Rune.
What an awesome thing to win!
It's a cool
what an
thing, though,
awesome,
right?
The
The artwork's fucking stunning. Look at the
Yeah.
light on it. I don't really know what to do with it. I haven't hung it anywhere yet, or don't know what to do with it.
But
But
it's also like that. Do you even want? Would you take it to an event?
I don't know.
Is it the kind of thing that Gellert would take on the road
feel like
with
this
him,
should
or-
exist in the world.
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
should
Feel,
take it.
I really don't feel like it. But the thing is, I don't want to. It's so nice. I don't want to get it wrecked.
But maybe that's part of its
don't know.
character.
If
You know what I mean?
there
It's
is-
you
I
can
was-
get
I was
a nice
even-
little frame for
Do
it.
you know what I was thinking about? And this sounds terrible, but there is logic behind it. Selling it at auction,
You could do. Well, I guess what you have to ask yourself is, would Gellert do that? Right?
or I could give it as a gift.
Yeah.
There's lots of things. I just want it to exist in the world, maybe with more
Maybe it's
love
the
and
kind of
attention.
thing
than
when you
me,
hear a
right?
really great story, you gift it to somebody. Maybe
Exactly,
something like
and
that.
also I think the hair is to do with courage. I want to say it's to do with a virtue.
Yeah.
There was something to do with it being heretical to worship the animals or whatever.
I assume it was done by a winter marker, right?
The origins are unknown,
Okay,
right?
it looks a little bit winter mark.
Well, there was a lot of I think
That's what I would say. That was
Saying winter
It's
mark?
interesting. Yeah, I'm saying winter mark.
Yeah, it's interesting though, right?
It's really nice.
Anyway,
really
that's-
nice.
We digress. Right, and that was basically my Empire Day.
It sounds great. You know what? What was really I kind of maybe could have gone, but it was it would have been just with shuffling time around and what I had going on actually in my sort of personal life, it just wasn't really possible. But I kind of could have gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I chose not to. But I'm I think it would. I regret it in a way. It would be quite cool to do one. I'm tempted to do one next year.
I think I think having those specifically those two events meant that I think there was a bunch of Navarre that went to the other event that would have made 20 more people. I think with 20 more people it would have been
changes as well.
Yeah, very much so. But I had a really good time. Thank you very much to Paul and the other people that organised it and to the other players. I had a great time basically. So that's it. Right, there are a couple of things. I don't know how to fit them in, so we're just going to talk about them now.
Yeah,
the
sure.
Empire mail shot.
Oh yeah. So basically, at the beginning of the year, PD sends you. It's Profound Decisions who run the game Empire. They send you basically this thing through the post.
Yeah.
I think you have to check your little box to get it sent to you, but basically they send you this thing through the post, which is an icy kind of. Well, no, it's not icy. But it's kind of
That was a
it's like
letter.
a letter and a story. and like the lore and what's currently going on in the world of Empire.
PD just up in their game. Like,
it looks great. Like it's a physical thing. It's just really nice to receive.
Yeah.
And it's just, got all this lovely detail about all these different goings on, sort of bringing you up to speed, in case it's kind of like previously on Empire. You know what I mean? And then it sort of runs through all of that.
How it is, yeah.
And it just does it really well. It was just like a fantastic thing to receive, and I was already hyped. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like dropping a really sweet trailer, and I'm already excited for the movie.
It's really well made. It's like, actually, you know what? I haven't looked through it that much.
No, I skimmed it. Like, also, a lot of it's like I know a fair bit of the things but it kind of it reminds me of them. Right?
I quite like the idea of trying to like I've got my last year's mail shop, but kind of like collecting them, and they feel something that's worth collecting.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you know what I mean? Is that
because
weird?
They're so tight. No, I've literally done the same, and I think like they tie into the memory, the experience of going. Right.
It's just a cool little. It's a hype bomb, like you said. It's an absolute hype bomb. Like you drop that, and you're like, "Holy fuck yeah! I want to go LARPing right now."
I've never been like a big collector or hoarder, or really had that much of that mentality about anything. But LARP's done all this thing where it's like, it's that joy of like receiving an item that has like value beyond the simple physical price of what it is. Like it has actual sentimental value because it reminds me of the experience of doing something that I love. Right. So I mean, it's just like there's all these objects, right? Like think about the way you think about your weapons and your kit and all that stuff, right? All those little personal details, like the thing that Fal gave you and stuff like that. Like that is like a lot of them are kind of earned as well, either through you having the courage to go as a player, or through your actual IC actions, which is you having the courage as a person to actually do things.
Yeah, I totally. Yeah, little gifts, all that stuff.
It's great. Like I think that's an awesome thing. Like, and like all the little necklaces and things, they all add loads of character as well, and they're things you can kind of take around with you.
It's nice. I'm getting to the point now where a lot of these little pendants and stuff are literally going to be gifts or something actually means something to them. So and that's cool. Like when you start building onto your kit, that's actually stuff that like.
And I think that's the thing. Like, when you first go, you kind of have that little generico character in a way, or at least even you have the sort of D&D concept of your character. And what LARP does, it kind of steers you beyond that sort of D&D brief that you give yourself of what your character is. This is what he likes and hates, and this is what he thinks on this subject, and he's all this kind of stuff. Classic tragic backstory, all of that. And then it's like when you actually play it, the experience of playing it sort of takes it somewhere else,
Yeah, we should talk about that briefly. We had our listener get in touch who was talking about not knowing what to do at Empire or trying to find their way at Empire. And we won't go too much into this. It's just something I wanted to touch on briefly. I think we've both suffered from not knowing what our aim is.
Yeah.
And what was weird about being asked the question was I suddenly started being this fountain of, hey, well, what's your role? Because if you're into, there's something for everyone, right?
Yeah.
If you're into the religion, you can go down the religious game. There's actual like official places, and you can go there and talk to people and ask questions and learn something.
And the community's great for this as well, because you can go and ask a question and just be like, I want to get into the physics game or the alchemist thing, and then people will actually call in people who are like really experienced or really kind of knowledgeable in that area, and they'll kind of help you out.
But isn't this weird that we're sitting there going like sometimes we feel aimless, but we can at the same time fully answer that question confidently, like, oh yeah, there's loads of stuff out there, you just need to go and find it. Where's the break between your own character and sometimes finding a way?
This is what I was going to get onto as well, because I start like when I played Talis, I was in a place in my life where I was like my nerves with the hobby and going into the hobby, I was kind of like, I just want to sort of watch it for a little bit, right, and kind of get my confidence in it.
Yeah.
I want to do a couple of not lengths but breadths of the swimming pool first, right?
You want to kind of get your sea legs under you.
And then like when I actually started getting into it, the way that changed and the way that you start thinking about those things that you want to accomplish,
Well, I think also your character can sometimes become a straitjacket. Yeah. And it's purely your own mind doing it.
But the interesting thing's
actually,
been
maybe
moving
not,
from
depends on the role.
I don't
know.
Moving from a place where Talis was aimless because I was nervous and that made me a little bit aimless in the game.
Yeah.
To then being like, no, Talis is aimless. That's the point, right? And then it lets me actually play that. It lets me meta that part of myself. So that's what's been really great, because like Talis being aimless has almost been a story piece that's actually affected other people because of the way my characters' motivations are
Like,
torn between different things
It's that
and stuff
great
like that.
long-term telling of a story, right?
Yeah.
Like wrestling does it. Is it. Any wrestling fans will know what I mean. If you're not a wrestling fan, you'll be going, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Any wrestling fans can be like, "Yeah, totally get what he means." But the idea of like long-term meaning comes off what might seem at first like random, right? Like the world happening around you has developed your character and the way you play him, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like it's not just you pretending to be Talus in a loop, right? You are deeply affected by the world around you.
You're constantly challenged on those aspects of yourself that you can say very easily, or you could write very easily, this is who Talus is. But the moment he's challenged with that position, how does he actually stand on it? You know what I mean? How does he react to it? Because that's actually what defines it.
I don't want to get too much into this, but I think there's elements to Talus that I can see that you don't even know yet.
Yeah, it's interesting.
There are 100%. There are parts of Talus that you touch on.
Yeah.
You go as far as you touch it slightly, then you recoil back and go, no, that's not Talus. Whereas that whole thing, by you doing that, is Talus.
Yeah.
It is
your
nature, your true nature, is behind a door that you are happy to walk up to, and occasionally you get close to, and occasionally you'll touch the handle and turn it slightly, but then you recoil back. And one day, Talus Ashbourne is going to walk up to that fucking terrible fucking door and open it and unleash something truly ghastly onto the world.
Wow.
The sun is almost completely gone, and this fog is starting to thicken. Jasper, my good man, do you know how much longer it will take before we reach to staff?
Yarp.
Will it be before the sun goes down?
Narp.
If only half the stories about this creature are true, I think it might be worth readying our weapons. It could be out there right now, just watching us.